Hi, it's Mark here from Explore Finland radio show. Thanks for joining us for Finnish Football Show 23. As ever, today I'm joined by Mark from FC Suomi. Hi, Mark.
Hello.
And also Keke from the Finnish Football Show, and also regular contributor to the fanzine. Hi, Keke.
Hello.
Despite our promises and best intentions, it's now been 8 weeks since the last show. And so once again, we have a lot of catching up to do. We're going to look at the Veikkausliiga standings after about 15 games. Also talk about the new format of the league in 2019, especially as we're now approaching the split, but more of that later. We're also going to talk about the relatively recent Euro 2020 qualifiers, where Finland played against Bosnia-Herzegovina and also against Lichtenstein. And we're going to get a first-hand eyewitness account of the Lichtenstein game from Keke, who was there. Let's see how much we can remember this time.
In body and spirit.
But let's hope not too much spirit.
Yeah.
We also have the regular new features, Jaasil Sipuli and following, as well as the ever-present news feature to kick things off. So this episode is live on YouTube, and as I started the recording, I got a nice little pop-up saying that YouTube Hangouts on Air is going from August the 1st. So it looks like Finnish Football Show is going to need new tech for after the Finnish summertime. So let's see how that works out. But that's my problem, and these two guys as well. But we'll sort that. For today, the live viewers, if there are any, because this was organised very last minute. So we didn't really get a chance to publicise it very much. But if you do find us during the show, there's a comments box at the side of the screen. So ask your questions and I'll keep an eye on that. Podcast listeners can use social media to get in touch with your feedback. Our handles for Mark are at FC Suomi, for me at Explore Finland, and for Keke at Keke Mülleri. That's KEKEMYLLARI. You could also find the Finnish Football Show Facebook group. Ask us to join, we'll let you in. And in there's a YouTube playlist of all the Veikkausliiga highlights that I can find. Not everyone makes their highlights available. I think some teams are ashamed, and others have got no shame. They just put it all out there. It's also got league tables and top scorer charts and all kinds of stuff. So before we crack on with the show, I've got a question. Is anyone else tired of football?
No, of course not.
Oh man! As a ASCII fan, we had a 4-week spell without a game because of the international break, and then the Mariehamn game was cancelled because of the Suomen Cup Final. But there there could have been a break, but there was the Europa League final, Chelsea versus Arsenal, which was terrible. And then there was the Champions League final, Tottenham versus Liverpool, which was also terrible. And then came the Euro 2020 qualifiers. Finland did well, and we'll talk about that. That was nice. And then the Nations League semi and final, and England were terrible in that, and it was just terrible. And I came to the Women's World Cup, and I was just like, oh God, another 4 weeks of football. I'm sorry, I'm supposed to be the up one that's presenting this show, but I just... I don't know. What was nice last week was that ASCII had their first home game after 4 or 5 weeks, and I was excited by that. We'll talk about that game maybe a little bit later. But what about you?
Are you telling me that you also missed the Copa America, CONCACAF Gold Cup, and the African Cup of Nations?
I saw the results on the BBC Sports app, but that's about as far as I went. I did watch quite a bit of the Women's World Cup. I thought that was good. And wasn't it lovely to see players not falling over at the slightest touch? I mean, there was a little bit of nonsense in some of the games, but they were like, it was like football how it used to be.
VAR did have its controversies at the beginning, didn't it?
It did have its controversies.
But once they ironed that out, it seemed to flow quite nicely.
You mean when they stopped using it?
Yeah, binned it off.
I think I disliked Phil Neville because once he had that rant about how the Cameroon guys complained about VAR, we then couldn't complain about VAR, and then the equalizer in the
USA
bronze game was it
Ah,
in the bronze game when it said it bounced up and hit her hand against Sweden, and we would have been 2-2. That's a ridiculous VAR decision. I couldn't believe it. But then we can't complain because that's what the ref says.
At least we don't have VAR to worry about in Veikkausliiga.
that's it.
We just had to start with the referees. Actually, last time we mentioned the referee that stopped the game because there was some racist shout from the crowd, Mohammed Al Emari, and he actually refereed the Seinäjoki or the Ilves Seinäjoki game on Sunday, and he looks good. He's a relatively young referee, and he looks good. He's one to keep an eye out, but. Otherwise, many of the others are in a hall of shame, as far as me and Lady Sutter are concerned. Anyway, she's got the
black book, the shit list.
Oh, no, Rich, I dropped the S bomb. I'm gonna have to bleep that out. Oh, okay. Enough of me whining on about having too much football to watch. Poor baby. Let's kick off the first half of the show with some news. And I think I'm going to go first this time. I haven't finished talking. I'm going to set it up and let you guys go, I think. So I said before that the Seinäjoki game against Mariehamn was rearranged because of the Suomen Cup Final. So on the 12th of June, a few weeks ago now, the game finished Mariehamn 0, Ilves 2. So I think it looks like Ilves are really going for a double this year, which seems kind of improbable, perhaps in the closed season, but they're really playing well. And again, a bit more on their league form later. But it wasn't the game so much that was controversial, but what happened after it. Who wants to explain to the listener what happened over there?
Well, it was at the final whistle, I believe, wasn't it? It was final whistle just went. The Ilves fans obviously really pleased with the result. And a few of them attempted to enter the field of play to celebrate with their heroes. The hired honchos, or whatever you want to call them, the so-called security guards, took umbrage to this excursion onto the field and decided to dispatch the tear gas into the crowd. I mean, the most famous picture, the one that's been tweeted the most, is of some poor chap just minding his own business, walking along the front of the ground there, and the security guard just aims the tear gas at his face and lets him have it.
Yeah, they were. Was it pepper spray rather than tear gas?
Yeah.
Same effect, I suppose. But they, you're right. There was a picture of a guy like holding a can of pepper spray out like it was a gun towards the crowd. It was ugly, wasn't it?
I mean, it's you can say what you like about people wanting to run on the pitch. The game was over, so I really do tend to stand with the fans on this one, as you might have guessed. But whether you like people running on the pitch or not, I just think it's an overreaction, especially discharging that stuff into the crowd, the people who are not actually made their way onto the field.
Yeah. I mean, that can if you watch on, there's 2 or 3 videos that go on for a couple of minutes, and if you watch on for a minute, the cloud as it sort of wafts over the stand, it hits 200 people. You know what I mean? It's like I don't know. I mean, I don't know if it's it looked like they hadn't done it before. I think that's the first thing. It looked like they weren't particularly prepared for a football crowd, and they did look like they were up for not a fight, but they were ready for confrontation. You know what I mean? Like they weren't looking to, like, stewards are supposed to
crowd control,
exactly, control. That's the point. Calm stuff down. Exactly.
Have you ever, I mean, outside of maybe you might think in South America or some of the Mediterranean countries where they crack down hard on crowd violence, but have you ever heard of stewards having pepper spray? No.
I mean, it happens in Mexico. It happens in it's not common, but it's not. I've never heard of it in Finland. I've never heard of it in. I think they use it in Italy, but in Italy, when you've got a bit of pepper spray, you've got the stadium's like 100 years old, and it goes back like 500-600 meters. These guys were all just they were in a pen like 20 square meters across. It was like a flat. So yeah, but
not pretty.
No.
Was there any fallout?
Well,
Unintended, but afterwards.
The company was called out a bit over social media. They had a bit of a reaction, as you would expect from football fans over social media. Had a bit of a dig at the company's official Twitter feed, but I'm not sure there was any official sanctions or anything like that, or if Palolito or Marian Ham or whoever it was who employed these guys have came out and said, we won't be using them again, or they've issued an apology or anything like that. I think it's all just been, football fans, they sort of deserve it. What they get, they tried to run on the pitch, and that's the end of that, So, which for me is the wrong reaction, you know what I mean? But yeah, I think it's been left to the supporters to sort of stand up for themselves and say, look, whether you want us enter in the field of play or not, that's the wrong reaction,
Yeah, and when football fans let off flares and there's smoke and whatever going off in the crowd, then there are fines and punishments handed out. So this is kind of equivalent at the very least.
Yeah, but yeah, we'll see.
I made a note here, Keke. You mentioned a week or two ago about PS Chemi and their experiment with Red Strike. What's been going on up there?
Well, it's it looks like the experiment might be over.
Remind people what the experiment was, because it was the last show, but it was a couple of months ago. We mentioned it.
So there was this consortium or this marketing company bought into the old PS Chemi, Chemi Kings, whatever you want to call them, and rebranded. That came in with a lot of promises. Rebranded the club, Chemi City, I believe they called it. And it was only literally a matter of weeks ago, that we were talking about this, and it looks like it's all ended in tears. There's the promised investment never showed up. It was all a bit of a Wizard of Oz type thing. Once the curtains parted, there wasn't really much behind there. So I don't know what's going to happen to those poor Chemi supporters, but it remains to be seen, I suppose.
Anything to add, Mark?
Yeah, it's just a shame. I really like Chemi in there. Chemi's first of all a kind of a weird town on the border. It's got a lot of fun clubs and characters up there. And when they were in the Veikkausliiga, they kind of punched above their weight for a couple of seasons. They did pretty well. A lot of respect for them, and I hope that they get themselves back on their feet.
Had one of the best jerseys ever seen in Finnish football. Do you remember the Adidas number? That was an absolute beaut. Yeah, that's it.
The red, blue, and white on the shoulder.
Yeah. Lovely jersey.
Lovely stuff.
Yeah. It's a big shame, I don't know exactly what's happening with them now. If anyone else has got hold of them, but yeah, it's the same. It's the same as many other towns around Finland. They deserve a football club, a real proper functioning football club, not one that's going to have the Mickey taken out of it.
Yeah, and they had it. I don't know. Everything in the Veikkausliiga is run on such a tight margin that when they made that rule that you would scupper the costs if you couldn't play your pitch in like January, February, they had to work really hard. They had to get volunteers in. They had to organize local support. They had to clear the pitch with squad members and the rest of it. And whether it's taken it out of the bank account or whether it's taken out of the players' legs before a game, it's a bit of it was a well-intentioned rule, but I don't think at the end of the day, it disproportionately costed guys like Chemi.
And Mark, what about Joel Pohjanpallo? Back in training?
Pohjanpallo is back in training, and
he's on with him.
He had it. What did he do? Oh dear. He's had a couple of injuries. His last one was his. I'm going to say, was it his abductor? Was it his knee?
Yeah, it was his knee.
Yeah. And he's been out. He's been out for, what was he out for? Something like 9 months.
Mm-hmm.
Hell of a long time. And he's back in training now, and he's back playing. He scored at the weekend in a friendly for Leverkusen. So he looks like he's fit. He's raring to go. All the interviews sound right. Sound like his head's in the right place. Looks like he's in a good shape. Like he doesn't have any extra timber. He's moving quite freely. So he's back, and he's looking to get game times and an opportunity at Leverkusen, before Christmas, because he's he moved from Fortuna Düsseldorf. Was it 2 years ago?
Was that a loan though? Was that a loan, or was he there permanently?
Oh yeah, he was on loan there from Leverkusen, but then he wanted away. He said, like, look, if I'm not going to get any game time, I don't want to stay. Just send me to Fortuna. And after a bit of a protracted negotiation, they said, no, you'll play, you'll get your chance. And then he came back and got injured. Which is, I mean, that's terrible, because particularly with how well Finland are doing. Can you imagine how well we'd be doing if we bring back Jolle?
But I think you're right with the latest interview, Mark. He was saying that they've got a lot of games coming up to Christmas. I don't know if there's are they in European competition qualifiers, etc., or they're already through to the Europa League. So
I think they've got a couple of qualifiers to get through before they get there, but they'll be expected to walk through them.
Yeah, so
anyway.
they've got a lot of games coming up. So between now and Christmas, so I think he's eyeing a few minutes on the pitch between then. So.
Yeah, you can imagine a sort of group game against your likes of your Hajduk Splits and whatever. If you get a good draw, you'll be doing full 90 minutes against those kind of guys, and he's just got to take his chances. So all of it. I mean, I just I love that guy. He's just one of those natural finishers,
and he's still young as well. He's only 24, so he's got plenty ahead of him. Back in that team alongside Teemu Pukki, who seems to be embedded himself at Norwich and signed a new deal over there, so we can all get excited.
Yeah, I think it's a 4-year deal, is it?
Yeah, 4 year with an option for a 5th. So it'll take him to 32 or 33 if he takes the option. I think it's kind of necessary because who did they sign? Norwich signed another striker, and it's kind of not clear. He seems to be. I can't remember the guy's name now, but he's Pukki will have competition for places, which is necessary if you're going to be a Premier League team. But yeah, he signed a contract extension. He was on about 30 grand a week in the Championship, so we don't know what he'll be on now. 50. But yeah, it's exactly the right thing that you want to happen for a lad who's 29. So this is his big deal that's going to take him into the past the hill, let's say.
He'll be all right after 4 years on 50 grand a week. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah. I mean, and the first game of the Norwich's first game is at Anfield. So Pukki's first thing is to take on Van Dijk at the Kop. So if he can score there, I think he'll do all right. He'd do all right in the Premier League.
But that new deal, it works both ways as well, doesn't it? It protects Norwich's investment, So obviously, with all those goals he banged in last season, there'll be people keen to see what he can do in the Premier League, and then they might come sniffing. So it protects.
Yeah, he was linked with Benfica.
Yeah, he was. Yeah,
Champions League, and that was a lot closer than I think. That's why that was the big impetus for the deal. And Benfica's that's a nice place to go play football. So
nice weather out there as well.
Yeah,
or Norwich.
I just think I would hope to think that Teemu's like a grounded sort of guy. Though he obviously knows how well he did the previous year. If it ain't broke, why fix it? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just hang about. They're in the Premier League. See how it goes. I mean, fair enough. Benfica are a massive club. They can be playing in the Champions League, what have you. But to be playing in the Premier League week in, week out, especially for a Finn, how popular, how popular Premier League is in Finland. You know what I mean? So I think he's made the right decision there, staying there, testing himself against the best.
So we can be sure that every Finnish football show will give everybody a Norwich City update during the next season, early August. The league, not necessarily the next show. No promises. We need to sort our tech first. Hey, let's move on to the Euro 2020 qualifiers. While we're talking about the exploits of Teemu Pukki, back in the beginning of June there were two games. On the 8th of June, Finland at home to Bosnia-Herzegovina, and then a few days later away to Lichtenstein. Maybe, Mark, if you tell us a little bit about the Bosnia game, and then Keke can tell us about his trip to Liechtenstein. I wrote down here, fantastic performance.
I think that was probably the best game Finland have played in the last 15 years, 10, 15 years, something like that. I mean,
every game you could remember there, just to work out how long it goes back.
The last time I can remember them playing that well was a 3-0 win away in Poland in about 2004, when Mika Väyrynen scored the third with that lovely lob. It was when Hodgson was in charge, and it was when we finished second in the qualifying group behind Portugal, and we only finished by a point, I think, or was it second or third? No, it was second, I think, and only one went through. But I think I haven't seen it. I haven't seen us cope with an opponent, stick to our guns, hit them on the counter as effectively as that since Poland, and probably before Poland it was another 10 years or something like that. So it was an absolute barnstormer of a performance, because Bosnia-Herzegovina are a proper team.
Yeah.
They've got some serious talent, and they came into Tampere a little bit understaffed. They had a couple of injuries and a suspension, but they laid it on thick. Like they attacked us. They gave us a lot to think about defensively, but we coped, we countered, and Pukki. Oh my god, that Bosnian centre back is still looking for him in somewhere in the suburbs of Tampere, because he sold him a dummy that was probably it was just beautiful. I don't have enough superlatives for how amazing that game was.
Maybe if we recorded this a bit closer to the game, you'd have had a few more superlatives to throw at the mic. But it was great, and we enjoyed watching it at home. And then there was a big celebration with the fans, and that was good. I mean, it was a real bond between the players and the fans. But I turned to Sato on the sofa next to me and said, I hope they're not overdoing it. Like, I hope this isn't seen as the kind of, okay, we've done it now. They need to go away on Tuesday and beat Lichtenstein to really build on that victory. And they did it. Now, I didn't see this game because the next morning I had to get up. It was on at 10 o'clock finish time, so it would have finished at midnight, and I had to get up at 3:30 in the morning to travel away for work. So I didn't see the game. Keke, you saw the game.
I did.
Tell us what you remember.
Well, just before I go on to that, I just wanted to say about, you're saying about the celebration after the Bosnia game. I just think I understand what you're saying, but I think the stage in Tampere was just perfectly set. I really think the crowd played their part, and I just think the team wanted to show their appreciation to the crowd. Do you know what I mean? I really think the crowd did spur them on to that victory, and not to take anything away from the team, but I think the crowd really played their part, and it was almost theatrical the way that when Pukki scored, the heavens just opened.
Yeah,
and everybody just got completely
soaked.
I know.
But
it was the first. I think it was the first full house as well.
In a long time, yeah.
Was it since 2009? So it was about 8 years, I think. I think it was definitely since the Helsinki, since the Olympic Stadium went under renovation. It was the first full house that they've had in the Ratina, and
it had been a party atmosphere most of the day or evening, hadn't it, Mark?
It was sunny June in Tampere, so it was. I mean, and 7 o'clock kickoff, so it was. I mean, everything, all the stars aligned.
Yeah, no, it wasn't a criticism. It was more an observation that I made at the time, and I was hoping they would go on to really, build on it for Liechtenstein.
Well, yeah, Liechtenstein. So it's got a few facts for you for Liechtenstein. It's okay. It's the least visited country in Europe.
What?
I've been there, but it's one of only two double landlocked countries in the world.
Double landlocked.
Yeah. So you have to go through two other countries before you get to the seaside.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's the fifth smallest country in the world, Liechtenstein, and they're also the world's largest producer of tooth implants.
Tooth implants.
Yeah. So big factory in Vaduz, churning out tooth implants.
Niche.
So Liechtenstein. It was a cracking trip. Most of the boys turned up. I met my mates in Zurich. Most of them turned up hungover because they'd come straight from Tampere. They jumped on the train from Tampere down to Helsinki. A train full of Finland fans, you know, all doing the same thing. So yeah, straight on the plane. We met up in Zurich because there's no airport or not even a train station in the whole of Liechtenstein.
Really?
It's not long. It's not long enough for an airport.
Yeah.
For a runway.
So yeah, we met up in Zurich. Had a couple of days there. Mooched around for a bit. Quite a lot of the other SMU core fans were there. So we had a bit of a night out with them, and then made our way down to Liechtenstein via train and bus. So we eventually got to Vaduz through the Alps. Very, very nice. A great way to shake off the hangover. A nice train ride through the Alps. But no, it was beautiful. Really, really nice. So yeah, turned up. A few more beers, as you can imagine, and yeah, made our way to the Rhine Park Stadium. And yeah, and another perfect performance. I mean, it was pretty much what you would expect an inferior quality side trying to keep Finland at bay, sort of, and then trying to almost take advantage on the counter attack as Finland pressurised them more and more. But it turns out that the second goal was actually a sort of counter attack by Finland, really, with who was it? Lassi Lappiainen, I think. Who, yeah, put on the afterburners. And yeah, absolutely went for it. Was it still? I think it was the ball was still at his feet when he was twiddling around a couple of players in the box and squared it across, and Chelman smashed it in the net. So
I think it was it 12? I think it was something like 12 seconds. 12 seconds. He went from box to box, beat 3 players, and fed it on before Chelman. Unbelievable! Like that, I mean, I don't want to get sidetracked, but he scored tonight. HJK beat Hobe in the Champions League qualifiers.
3-0.
3-0 win. Lappalainen got 2 of them tonight. But he's the pace. I mean, I know it's Liechtenstein, so you got to sort of factor that in. But he burned through those guys.
Yeah,
like they weren't there. And his the pass for the finish, simple tap in. But just
that was the second goal, so we was already well up for it. But with our man Pukki had already put us 1-0 up. So yeah, I mean, but as I say, you know, not quite workmanlike performance, but just exactly what you needed against that sort of opposition, chipping away, waiting for the opportunities, and yeah.
It looked like they'd sort of, because obviously Liechtenstein came up with a bunch of, I think, 2 banks of sort of 4 and 5 or 5 and 4, but it looked like the fullbacks sort of absolutely squashed everybody in, because the ball was in that final third for, I don't know, a full hour. Like, it was just they did kept like bombing on, and there was a couple of times that Liechtenstein hit on the break, and it was only Arajuri and Toivio that were at the back. But they even though it was only the 2 of them and Hradecki, they didn't get that bothered.
I don't, you know, I had a couple of pints, but I don't remember having too much to do. Do you know what I mean? It was as I say, it was a standard away performance to that low opposition. But speaking to the lads, you know, it wasn't that long ago that we'd gone to places like that. I mean, they were even saying last time we was in Liechtenstein, I can't remember if it was a 0-0 or something like that, or and then we were remembering San Marino when we went 1-0 down. So you know, you can't take these smaller countries lightly. And it was really, as I say, not quite workmanlike, but a really thought out performance. You know,
I think it was under Baxter we drew 1-1 with Liechtenstein in Liechtenstein, and that was a qualifier. And then I think as well, if I remember right, we drew 1-1 in Turku with Liechtenstein. Do you remember when Mehmet Heitamai got his goal? That would have been about 2000.
Got his goal.
Love it. Well, he's Mehmet Heitamai is like a ledge, so, and he's got 1 goal for Finland. But I was there. Yeah, that's a good one to rack up. But yeah, we drew 1-1 then as well. I think that was still under Mik. I think that was one of Miksu's last games. I think actually Miksu. That's right. I think we drew with Liechtenstein and Turku, and then we went to play Hungary and got beat, and that was when Miksu Shai Genka when he got the boot. But
again, though, you know, the fans played their part. There was a decent number of us there, and solid singing for 90 minutes.
Beer in the stands.
Beer in the stands. Yeah, plenty of beer in the stands. So yeah, solid singing for 90 minutes. So it was really longer than that because it took them a while for them to kick us out of the ground. We made sure we hung about for about 45 minutes afterwards singing. So yeah, it was really good fun. And at the end of the game, the team came over, celebrated again with the fans. And when you look down like that and you see guys like Tim Sparv and Paulus Arayuri, you can see the look on their face. You can see how much it means to these guys. They're really, really pumped, really happy, and it really is a connection between supporters and players. Do you know what I mean?
And it leaves Group J at the moment. All teams played 4, so Italy are first with 4 wins out of 4, 12 points. Finland are second with 9 points. Armenia third with 6. Greece are fourth with 4. Bosnia-Herzegovina fifth with 4, and then Lichtenstein at the bottom with 0. So it really, really gives something to build on. And the next games are in early September. They're both home games. What Finland tends to do, plays its home games in September and then goes away to the warmer climes as it gets into sort of October, November time, and it's too damn cold over here. So in 5th of September, it's Finland against Greece. And then on the 8th, it's Finland versus Italy. Both of those are in Tampere. And you'd have to say, you'd expect them to be, good turnouts again for those games based on what's been happening so far. And it kind of... Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'll say it just kind of takes me back to before the Nations League, when many people didn't even know what it was. And I remember thinking it could be something to build on. And it has. It's worked that way. Okay, Finland won the group. They will, in a couple of years' time, be promoted up to a higher level in the Nations League. And they've kept on that momentum. And it was a close defeat to Italy in the first game, but otherwise the momentum's continued. And even if this qualifying campaign doesn't end with automatic qualification, they have a kind of a second chance through the Nations League. So it's great stuff.
I mean, when you look at those fixtures, Greece at home. I mean, Greece are not fantastic at the moment. When we were in Liechtenstein, everyone was the scores from the other games were popping up on the phones, and I can't remember what happened. Now, was it Armenia playing Bosnia?
Armenia. They beat them. Yeah. No, Armenia beat Greece 3-2.
Armenia
did us a massive favour.
Yeah. So Greece are not looking fantastic. So if we can get a result against them, that gives such confidence against Italy. And remember, we're at home. Italy are going to be away. So.
Well, I think the first thing is for Greece, we're 5 points ahead of Greece. 5 points. So Greece have got to come to Finland, and if they want to stand any chance, they've got to win. They've got to come and beat us. And Greece do not do that. They don't go anywhere and attack. They it's not in their nature. It's not in their DNA. So they're going to come up and they're going to have to attack. And I think that's going to just play right into Kanerva's hands. That's perfect. It's perfect. It's exactly what we want. We want them to come and try and break us down, and we'll hit them on the counter because they don't have any pace at the back. And can't get too excited. But we're 3 points ahead of Armenia, who are in third, 5 ahead of Greece and Bosnia-Herzegovina, who are the next. They're the sort of favourites to challenge us for qualification. 5 ahead of those guys with Armenia and Liechtenstein to play at home. Still,
it's top 2 teams go through. From the group, and then I think there's 4 more. That would give 20 qualifiers, and then it's 4 more coming through from the Nations League playoff. That's right, isn't it? So, it's exciting.
It is, and Bosnia away is nothing to worry about because my flights are booked already.
You've got a correspondent in Bosnia.
So that one's in the bag, lads.
Sarajevo, no problem.
Well, the games we're flying to Sarajevo, but we need to get a bus to Zenica.
Ooh,
wherever that is. But these nice people at SMU Corps have chartered buses for us.
That's all, yeah.
So it's all good. It's all good.
Well, they give you a T-shirt. They pay for your bus, and you mention them on. You get there. Look, he's puffing his chest up to make sure that logo comes above the bottom of the screen.
As well he should. As well he should.
Okay, let's stop the Huuhkajat talk there. Half time.
Before we get really excited.
Half time before Mark goes very red and gets carried away with himself.
But why?
Half time whistle is blown. and we come to our feature, Ja sillä sipuli. This is a football phrase, a Finnish football phrase. And Mark takes you behind the scenes and explains what these football phrase means. Now, you sent me this through this afternoon, Mark, without an explanation. So this show's word is piikkatappi. How was my pronunciation?
That was pretty good. It's better than most piikkatappi. Yeah.
What on earth does it mean?
How is your? Well, there's a reason that I didn't provide you with an in-depth explanation ahead of time.
Okay.
How's your nature knowledge? How much do you know about bears?
I don't know a lot about bears.
Do you know where
they do it in the woods?
If you see one, run.
Yeah, bears do it in the woods unless they're hibernating. Now, when bears hibernate, they don't go as they go in the woods.
Okay,
and the reason they don't go is because there's a solidified clunk of crap, right, at the end of the old chute. And that solidified chunk of crap is called a piikkatappi, right? It's the thing that keeps everything inside. Now, obviously, when they wake up, all hell breaks loose, literally. Like, it just blows out. But in football, a piikkatappi is it's technically translated as an anchorman in English, or as a fecal plug. Because it's the guy who basically stops all the crap hitting the defense.
Holding midfielder.
That's another word for it. Yeah. So there you go.
There you go.
I'm writing this down and I'm going to read it out on air because this will go in the show notes so everyone can come back and.
Piikkatappi. Holding midfielder.
That's right. The old plug.
Piikkatappi, literally the fecal plug in a hibernating bear, meaning the anchorman or holding midfielder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's an education.
Yeah.
Education.
I mean, literally, I could not make that up. You can't.
No.
I like it a lot. I'm going to have to try and drop it into conversation. The problem is I don't know if Ashiko has a holding midfielder. We seem to have a holding playmaker quarterbacking the ball from the edge of his own penalty box, and it doesn't matter who's playing. It's look, we've gone into the second half already. I'll stop my ranting. Let's officially go into the second half. I'll get my chance to have my say. Let's go on to the Veikkausliiga after 15 games approximately, and I think there's only one place to start. We've mentioned them already because they won Suomen Cup, but Ilves, wow. And still, wow! It's they've played 13 games. Actually, they're currently top again, having beaten Ashiko on Sunday. They've played 13. They've won 8, drawn 4, and lost 1. One defeat. Now, that includes 8 clean sheets. They wobbled a little bit in June. They conceded 5 goals in 3 games, but still, big respect. Have you seen much of them, Mark?
Yeah, I've been watching them a fair bit, and they look. I think in the last show we talked about how Jarkovic had banned slide tackles. Did we talk about that?
No, I don't know if we did actually.
Oh well,
we definitely mentioned it. I don't know if it was might have been in private.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, that's true. It might have been. Yeah, it might have been. In our other guys as fans, but Jarkovic has banned slide tackles in training because he wants all of his defenders and all of his players to stay on the feet, shape the play, keep running, keep moving, and then move the ball. And they are a footballing team that I mean, they haven't actually changed that much from let's say last year or the year before, because they've been building this sort of like style of play and sort of good technique for a couple of years, and it just looks now like they've sort of come to fruition. They've also got that young lad, that Alamulimäki. Thank you. There's too many syllables in there. Who's in form. He's been playing fairly regularly. I think he's a sort of midfielder winger, but he's
he's got 8 goals in 12 of those 13 games, so he's been there most of the season.
Yeah, popping up. I mean, he's been playing regularly for the last couple of years, but he's not been that prolific. Now he's just sort of popping up in the right kinds of places, and getting the goals. So they look like a really good footballing team, and they control games. They really just it's hard to beat them because you don't get a lot of the ball against them.
Yeah, it's interesting. I've seen them play Seinäjoki twice. Once in the flesh, and once on TV the other day. And I don't know. They somehow. You're right. They control the game, but they don't do anything much. Like they scored on Sunday. They scored a penalty. And they got one that bounced in off Nadson's chest for an own goal, and then it was a really good strike from Alamulimaki from the edge of the box. But other than that, I was watching it at home with Sato, and I said that no one's really made many saves. I mean that's a situation for most goalkeepers at Seinäjoki play again. They don't have to make that many saves, But it was like 3-0, and I sent a message to a group of sort of Ashikor fans and friends of mine, and got a similar response. Like one of the guys was at the game, and he was like, "I don't believe they were 3 goals better than us." But it's weird. And I said the same thing after they beat us 1-0 in the home game earlier in the season. It was like they didn't do anything, but they scored and they won. And I suspect that's what they've been doing all year. They're defending well, clearly. It's clean sheets galore. They must be pleased with that.
I think, Mark, like you said that there wasn't many saves to make during the SG Core game, but the renaissance of Mika Hylander has really been part of their success story this year. You know, the Suomen Cup, he was just like that, and then I can't remember the recent game, but there was a game a week or so ago, and again he was all over it. So. I mean, he had a great season a few years ago, but he seems to be back to his best now. And what was it, 8 clean sheets you say this season so far? So just there you go. You know what I mean?
No, it's true. It's true. It was interesting. Also, it's a shame that Rich is not with us anymore. Well, I mean, he's not dead. He's still around, but he's not with us on the show. Just in case anyone is worried about him. Sorry, Rich. Hope you're well. But Kups also from Kuopio are flying high. Before Sunday's game, Ilves game on Sunday, Kups were top, albeit having played extra games.
Two more than Ilves.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Kups have played 15 and have 26 points, and Ilves have played 13 on 28 points at the top there. But
that is painful reading. When you're a UU Core fan, to see Kups second in the Veikkausliiga, that is painful reading, I tell you.
Well, I mean they've got that. Is it Rangel, the lad who's up front? So they are a good team. Kups are as good as they've been in recent seasons. This Rangel guy is on absolute fire. I think that when he stops, if he stops, they'll be in quite big trouble. They don't have a lot of other guys that can score. They don't have a lot of other sort of support around him that's winning games. At the minute, everything's basically going through that guy. Through that, I think he's Brazilian as well. I think. So Kups are doing well. I'm always happy to see Kups do well. It must be painful. Sorry. Be nice to see Yiko coming back and doing well also. But I don't think they've got the legs for the remainder. I don't think they're in it for the long haul.
He is Brazilian, and he has scored 8 goals in 10 games so far. So everything you said there was
spot on.
Knows.
So you're saying, Mark, you reckon that Huuhkajat are gonna leapfrog Kups and they'll be challenging for the title with Ilves then?
Or are they still bang average, Mark?
They are. I mean, I think Lassi Lappalainen is there. I love watching him play, and if they can keep hold of him, they might be able to sort of turn it around. They let Lehkosuo go. They've sort of turned a bit of a corner. They're kind of getting better, but they're still not. They're still pretty average. They may not. They may have. I think they've maybe evolved from bang average to average. But they're not like it's still not a Huuhkajat team. Like if look, Valencic is in Inter Turku, smashing the place up, absolutely smashing the place up. They haven't got anybody like him. They haven't got anybody like Rangel, who's on. Like they're a good team. They're working themselves through. They've got some really good lads there, but they're missing something.
They'll have them next season.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah,
probably, yeah. Or somebody else.
Did you see who scored their other goal either side of? In the middle of Latvianen's 2 goals today.
No.
Daniel O'Shaughnessy, if you remember him.
O'Shaughnessy.
Yeah.
Yay. Yeah. Brentford's finest.
And his brother. He's got a brother as well, hasn't he? There's 2 of them, isn't
there? Yeah, there's 2 O'Shaughnessy's. I think he's got a couple of caps as well, actually, Daniel, from the Aavikko-leiri, from the desert camps that they do.
That's it. Yeah.
I think so. But that's good. He's another lad who's coming on. He's one of those Finnish players who just needs a bunch of games. He needs 50, 100 games under his belt before he can sort of go on. That's good.
It's the league that nobody seems to want to win, though, isn't it? All season, even like Ilves with their this really, really strong performance of 8-4-1 out of 13 games. I know they've got a couple of games in hand, but still they're not stretched away yet. If they win those 2 games in hand, then you start to see a lead opening up. There's so many draws.
I think it's 4 points takes you to 5th. I think Ilves are top, and I think if you go 4 points down, I think that gets you to
Yeah, true. Yeah.
So I think you've got and you've got the split coming up, in which you get the championship round. So everybody's going to play against each other in the top half. So it's going to be tight. It's going to be. I mean, hey, should be interesting. Should be fun.
Explain me this split. Because I've seen this thing happen before, like in Scotland, and I never quite got my head around it. And for somebody who did get their head around the Nations League, I'm a little bit ashamed of myself.
But it took us about a year and a half to get our heads around how that.
Actually, it took me about 2 months of watching the same video over and over again and explaining it to people. And I found that the more I explained it to people, whether they wanted to hear it or not, the easier it became for me to understand what was going on. So,
yeah.
But there's 12 teams in the league.
12 teams.
In the past, they've played each other 3 times, so that's been like 33 games.
Yeah.
This year they're playing each other twice, so that's 24 games. And then after that point, the league splits top 6 and bottom 6, and then what? That's where I'm hit a wall.
So it splits into 2 leagues. The first one's called the Mestaruus League, the Champions League, and the second one's called the Haastajia League or the Challenger League. And basically the bottom league is basically who's going to avoid relegation, which is I think also, I mean it's not nailed on, is it? I think there's Corpevere down there, and
yeah, Corpevere beat VPS the other day, so that's Kokkola Vaasa. Kokkola beat Vaasa, local sort of derby game, and now Vaasa are like 3 points adrift from Kokkola.
Yeah. So the relegation league's pretty simple, or the Haastajia League's pretty simple. That's 6 teams that will play each other until the end of the season, and the bottom guy goes down.
Right, I get that. The bit that I don't get is, for example, at the moment, maybe I'll tell you what I'll do, because I'm excuse me, people. I'm going to share my screen.
Technology.
Oh God! Wow.
Can you see it now? Yeah. There's the league. I'll tell you what I need to do. I think is I need to do that now. If you two talk.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Yep. Now the screen's locked, so it will stay on there. You don't have to look at me.
Yeah.
So
at the
so for example, at the moment you've got Asiko and Mariehamn. They're quite close on points.
Yeah.
If it finishes that way when it splits, what if when they play 5 more games, they all play each other 1 more time at the top and 1 more time at the bottom?
Yeah.
So each team then ends up playing 24 plus 5 games, 29. What if Mariehamn win all their games and Seinäjoki lose all their games? Can they still go above each other? Is it just the fixtures that are decided on this?
No, that's it.
That's it. You're done. So Asiko finished 6th with whatever they've got currently today, and Mariehamn finished 7th, even though they could technically have more points than the guys that finished 3rd.
Okay, that's really interesting. I'd never understood it before, but I've never had someone wise to ask before, so I'm eternally grateful.
Yeah, I think that's the downside of the system, because they assume that it's so unlikely. Although if you look at it, I mean, is it impossible for Marienham to mount a title challenge from here if you cut it off being 10 points behind the leaders? I think that's harsh. I think that's pretty harsh. But
They've got 11 games to play, so if they're still 10 points behind with having played another 11 games, then maybe they don't deserve a chance to go for it. And if they put a run together now, they'll be in that top 6, I suppose.
Yeah, that's true. But so the top 6 will play each other, the bottom 6 will play each other, and that's going to be settled for the end of the season. The Champions League place goes to the champions, and then there's one other place that goes to the Europa League place. The first Europa League place goes to the second place. The third Europa League place goes to the Suomen Cup winner, which is Ilves. So if Ilves finishes first or second,
then it drops.
The third team gets it, and then that last Europa League place goes from wherever who hasn't qualified yet starts. So it's either third or fourth, down to 7th or 8th. So and then those
say that again.
Yeah. Okay. So.
You warned me beforehand that this was going to get complicated.
Yeah, hang on. I need to get my abacus. out. No, so Ilves have won the Suomen Cup, so they've technically already qualified for the Europa League, regardless of what happens. If they finish first, they'll then qualify for the Champions League, and their Europa League spot will go to the third place team.
And how many Europa League spaces are there? 2?
3.
3, right? Okay.
So there's 2 for the league, 2 Europa League places for the league, 1 Champions League place for the league, 1 Europa League place for the cup.
Yes. Okay.
So that means you've got to fill. How does it go? Oh no! Yeah, I think it's then 4 more places make up the semi-finals for the Europa League knockout round. So it's either 3, 4, 5, and 6, which is HJK, Inter Honka, and SJK today, or it's likely because Ilves are top.
There's like semi-finals, playoffs for this
place.
Okay,
yeah.
all right, okay.
Yeah. Which means that if IFK Marienham finish 7th, right, and then Ilves win the league and the cup, Marienham will qualify for being in one of those 4 teams that plays off against each other to get to the last Europa League place.
Okay.
Despite being in the bottom half of the split.
Crazy.
Even though they might end up with more points than HJK, for example, looking at how the table is right now. It keeps it interesting. Okay, I think my advice. Right, I'm going to stop sharing this because that's giving me a headache now as well. So I think the advice is wait until the split, then play those games, see how the league table finishes, and maybe in the last game start getting nervous or excited depending on how your team's doing.
There's one more thing to it. At the end of this one, after this brilliant brainchild was devised, the Ballolita decided to set up an official task force for competitiveness that is staffed every year to review the competitiveness of the league and propose new ideas for competitiveness in the future. So it's somebody's job to think about how competitive the league is, and I think there's like 5 guys in it, and then propose new crazy ways to be more competitive.
Oh, give me strength.
So I mean, I think that's a good idea. I think that's a great job. If the Veikkausliiga want anybody to think about competitiveness for the future, there's 3 guys right here who can help you out.
When I was at school, we would have said that sounds like a DOS.
Yeah, it does sound like a bit of a DOS. And let's face it, away trip to Lichtenstein, we know that's a goer already.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good. That's good stuff. A couple more things I noted here is just HJK is still I think they're the bang average team now. I mean, it's just so up and down. We beat Inter last Monday. Bit lucky to win it. We're not playing bad, but we're just not playing well. And the fans were really frustrated with this. It's like having half a dozen Ray Wilkins out there playing the ball sideways and backwards, and Lady Sutto's next to me effing and jeffing and telling them to get it forward. And and with about 20 minutes to go, then they brought it on Maximo Tolonen, who's a tiny little thing. He's only about 17 or 18 still now, and he's got a bit of something about him. He is quite exciting, and I understand they're bringing him through slowly. But when he came on, he got the ball and he ran with it forward, and he created just a bit of panic, I guess, in the inter defence. And then the team's coming forward, and then the crowd is alive, and it gets really loud, but it doesn't. It takes too long to get there, and it doesn't last very long. And also they've got Mossa hasn't played for the last couple of games. I don't know if he's injured, suspended. I didn't actually look into it. I just noticed he wasn't there, and when he gets, he seems so skillful. I love seeing him on the ball, but he's always on the ball in front of our own penalty box. That's what I was referring to earlier. He's sometimes behind the centre back picking up the ball, and I want him play. It's none of my damn business what position he plays. They must know what's his best position, but I'd love to see him behind the centre forward, opening things up from there, and let players like Hetemai and Eremenko Jr. kind of get the ball and feed it to him, and him be the pivot. But he's always so deep. And then, like last Monday, he wasn't there. Eremenko Jr. seemed to take the quarterback role, and he was picking the ball up on the edge of the box. It's like, oh, give me strength. This is not one player doing this. This is clearly the way they're being told to play, and it's quite frustrating.
I think
it's the third season of frustration.
Is the complaint against him in Huuhkajat was sort of precisely that. When they were level or in the league, start of the game, he'd pick the ball up deep and he'd carry it forward because he's really good at moving the game 5-10 yards in front of everybody, so just shifting everybody up the pitch. But if it didn't go to plan or didn't go well, he was always trying that sort of the John Joe Shelby pass. You know what I mean? Like that killer pass that happens in about 1 in 10. And it is frustrating to watch. I think last season when Huuhkajat got knocked out of the European competition against Bate Borisov, I was at the game, and he did the same thing. You know, Huuhkajat were good guns going through as they went into the match, and then Borisov got nicked an early goal, and I think we're going to go through on away goals. And he just kept dropping deep in his own half behind the centre circle and trying to ping balls on the diagonal over the top. And it was none of them landed. You know what I mean? Because it's easy to play against that. You just sit deep and then head it away and just head it off. So it's not.
Well, we've got a couple of interesting games coming up. We've got VPS Vaasa at home on Saturday, and I said before they played 14, 1-0. Drawn 7, lost 7, so that's 3 points in the bag for them on Saturday when they come to us. And then I think a week or so, maybe a week later, we're away to Kokkola, and I am planning. There's some sponsorship of the games between the teams in Pohjanmaa this year. There's always this silly Pohjanmaa Liiga thing, so it's kind of a mini league, just done for bragging rights, really.
Yeah.
But this year it's been sponsored by Power Park, and there's free tickets available to season ticket holders. So when we went away to Vaasa earlier in the year, we got a free ticket for the game, and we just had to pay for the bus ticket. And it's a similar thing this year for Kokkola as well. So I think I'm going to try and instigate a bit of a crowd going. It's a Saturday afternoon. And I think in my household we don't have the kids that weekend, so happy days. We'll be on the bus, away days to Kokkola, and let's see how that. Now, if we don't, all joking aside, if we don't pick up 6 points against the two bottom teams, then where are we heading? Not the right direction, that's for sure.
You'll be vying for 7th.
Beautiful. We can be top of the bottom teams. I do hope. Anyway, enough of that. I mentioned Vaasa. I think I don't know if there's issues there with funding of the team just in general. If that's harming them, I don't. It's like with Yarrow and Vaasa and Kokkola. I'd rather they all stayed up because it means more opportunities for these kind of local derby games and getting to a nearby away games. That's always a bonus. So I'd be quite happy for those two to finish 9th and 10th, but not 11th and 12th. So come on, Vars, I'll pull your fingers out. Anyone else in Veikkausliiga that you guys particularly want to mention or focus on? Or we could be heading towards the final whistle and injury time.
I think Huuhkajat look nice and relatively secure. I don't think they're going to get. I think they're going to be. I think they're going to be stable and steady, which I like because I want the derby to keep going. The Stadium derby is always a ton of fun. They're not going to rock any. They're not going to break into the top 6 this year, but they're not going to go down either. And I think that is job done.
That's progress for them as well, isn't it? Having sort of been up and down a couple of times recently to come up and sort of just push out of the bottom 2 or 3. It's tight. It's tight down there. There's 3 teams on 15 points and then Mariehamn on 18 points. But still, you're right. It's well clear of bottom.
They should be. They need a couple more wins and they'll be fine.
Okay, let's head to injury time. And this is our feature called Following, where every month we nominate someone that we know or like on Twitter. And it often seems to be Keke who is nominating these someones we like on Twitter. I have access to 3 Twitter accounts, and I look at the whole thing maybe once or twice a month. So and there's never anything there for me, and I don't post much, and no one tags me. If you're listening to this and you want to send me a message, it's at Explore Finland. Just tell me you're listening, and I'll see it eventually, and I'll wave back at you. But who are we liking this week, Keke?
So this week we're going for minor league soccer.
Right now, there's quite a lot of minor league soccers on Twitter. So I found that this is at minor_LS.
That's it. Yeah, at minor_LS. Yeah, minor league soccer.
Who is your top resource for Veikkausliiga analytics? So what do you get from this, Keke?
So he's similar to our old friend Barbarian, quite a prolific tweeter. He tweets in English, which is helpful for us. He's sometimes quite a lot of content, so you end up following a thread of 2 or 3 or 4 tweets to get the whole picture. But yeah, he's quite prolific, and it's just a great resource to go to if you're into Twitter and find out what's happening in English language. So good. Keep up, and the name makes me laugh as well when you've got Major League Soccer in America, and he's gone with minor league soccer for our love of Finnish football. So, but no, yeah, definitely give him a follow, and yeah.
And if you do follow him, let him know that you heard it on here. Barbarian was quite pleased to hear we'd been talking about him on the show. So
indeed.
Yeah, if you follow Major League Soccer, let him know that we sent you there. And that's it. That's the end of the show. Remember where you can find our sites online. So there's FC Suomi with regular reports of the Huuhkajat players around the world, and I guess looking towards those upcoming international games. And I guess when also the domestic seasons pick up again, there's normally some overviews of what the Finnish players overseas are up to. Keith's got his blog, kekemuleri.wordpress.com, and also has regular articles in the Stand fanzine. That's the full name is The Stand Against Modern Football, Stand AMF. So you'll find what he's been writing there. I'm putting out regular Explore Finland radio show episodes. There's a new interview show coming every month. Even I'm struggling to keep up with everything that I put out recently. Let me see, what was the last one? Oh, very unprofessional. I should have written it down here, but it's all out of date. Finnish rugby. Interview with a couple of guys from Seinäjoki Rugby Club about, and one of these guys, Olli-Pekka, used to play international rugby for Finland when they were the worst rugby team in the world. They were ranked the worst. He doesn't play for them anymore, and they won a game recently. So I don't know if those two things are connected, but it's good. It's good interview about the rugby culture in Finland, about the international rugby, and about snow rugby. And you know, if you thought rugby is a game for hard men, then snow rugby is just taking it one step further. And also, some of you on the Facebook page may have noticed that there's this YouTube series called Rakkaudesta Jälleen on YouTube. Sebastian Sorsa, former Finnish international player, is doing this series. He came to Asiko a month or so ago, met a few of the British Kloppit there, and we did a few bits and pieces, a bit of chanting for the camera and a little bit of three-a-side football outside the ground before a kind of group interview. So check out the Facebook page. You'll find the link there. I'll put a link also here in the show notes as well, so you can find it there. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, search for my name, Mark Wiltshire, or search Finnish Football Show. And if you're listening to the podcast, hit subscribe on there. Otherwise, that's it from me. Keke, thanks again for joining us.
Thank you. Kiitos.
And Mark, thanks for you too.
Kiitos. Thank you.
Let's not leave it another 8 weeks, chaps.
Definitely.
Back stronger.